Welcome to the Action Shooting Show. I just got back from this match, Midnight Madness 3, that's put on by the Tenant Group, and that is put on in the Cedar Valley Precision and in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So that was a night match, first night run and gun I have done in a long while since Midnight Madness, the first one, 2 years ago. I missed last year's. Great match. But, and I'll do an after action with that with some other people, I think, here soon, as soon as I can set that up. But for right now, I kind of want to go over a piece of gear I used. And I've had a lot of people at the match ask me about it because it's somewhat of a newer product. And so I'm going to share that. And that is the SMS Lasers Trinity. If you want to know just more than you could ever want to know about this, there are tons of other videos online. 4MR does a great breakdown of its power and shows you all these videos. And, you know, there's going to be people torture testing them. They're dunking them in water and beating them with hammers and all that stuff. So sweet, that's their thing. What I want to talk to you about, the features that it has and how those affect something like a running gun or like a night 2-gun match or things like that. So kind of more from the competition side of it. These features are going to apply to other uses of it, but I can only speak for like that, using it at the first match I've used it at, and kind of what I liked and what I disliked. So, you know, keep that all kind of in that lens. So this is a 3-in-1 device, laser, IR laser, Viz laser, IR illuminator. Just to get out of the way right now, I kind of, I guess for biases, I won this. They were giving like 50 of them out on their website when they first came out. Or not their website, Instagram. And it was one of those like, put your name, tag a bunch of friends. I tag everyone, you know, annoy my friends. And it happened to win this. So I've got $0 entered into this. So if it was junk, I could throw it away and I would not be out any money. I did purchase before this one their HFXC, which is their 4-in-1 device. That adds a white light to it. So I have spent money with them, but I didn't spend any money on this. So take that for what it is. People that know me, I tend to buy cheaper stuff. Sometimes I buy good stuff. It just depends. I want things that work. I don't care what the brand name is. I don't care what the company is. I don't care if it's cool or not cool or it's the poorest build. If it functions for me and it works, and I shoot a decent amount of running guns in other matches, so, you know, people are like, well, pours, it all breaks down. Yeah, there are places I spend money because I want it to last. There's places that I know I can cut cost and it'll also last. And it's been a long time since I've had anything break down in the middle of a competition or match or not make it through. So take that for what it is. But new, these are about $350. So I'll go over some of the features on it, kind of tell you my likes and dislikes for it. Start off with the mode selector switch. The very, we'll say, top of it, and then going down counterclockwise. So the top is your Viz laser. Both lasers in this are center line of your bore. So they go straight down the center. There's no offset like a older D-ball or something like that. You got Viz laser, then you have an off, so your Viz and your IR are separated there, which is nice. Then you go to a IR laser, an IR illuminator, and then you have 2 dual modes. If you notice, I didn't say you have a high and a low dual, because the way that this functions, and it's one of the things I think is nice for what we do in competition, is that those are user selectable. So if I flip it down here on the first of the dual modes, what you find is I can adjust using these 2 little buttons on top. They have and like an up and a down button. I believe, and don't quote me on this, if you get one, you have to figure it out for yourself. I believe the top one is the one kind of facing the muzzle is going to be your illuminator, and then the other one is your laser. If it's not, it's going to be the opposite of that. But one's laser, one's illuminator. What you do is when it's in dual mode, hitting whichever one you're choosing will cycle through 10 different output levels. And it goes from low to high. Then once it gets to the very highest, it's going to jump back down to low. It's something I would say is really handy. I don't know that you're going to want to do a lot of cycling through those levels on the clock, just because of the nature of, you just get blinding bright and then you're going to jump down so low. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Really something you probably want to set 2 different modes. That'll get you through all the different lighting situations and just leave it there. So, but very cool. So you could have a low, you could have like a low illuminator and a high laser, which most people, lasers are already too bright. You can have a low laser and a high illuminator, the kind of whatever you want. So really nice. I think that feature is really handy on this. With that, what you have is, for your illuminator, is you've actually got a slider here that controls the divergence of that illuminator. So all the way forward is going to be a really tight beam. All the way back is going to make the beam as wide as it will go. It's not a super long throw. Because of that, the beam doesn't get super wide. If you do need like a really wide, like almost flood, it does come with a diffuser. This is actually an aftermarket one, so I bought it for a couple reasons, but it does come with a factory diffuser. So you could diffuse it that way, and you'll have a flood with it. But on its own, bringing it all the way back is definitely not going to be any kind of flood. It's still, at a distance, it's still a pretty held together illuminator. But I would say for the distance they give you, it's a pretty solid range option. It doesn't get as pinpoint as some others where it's almost the same as a laser, but it does pretty darn well. So I'm very happy with that. The fire button is also center line on this, which is, for competition, I would argue is probably not a bad thing, because normally if I am shouldered on my right shoulder, I'd be using my left hand. But if for some reason I've got a switch, I still can easily reach that button, whereas if it was offset, I'd be really reaching over on one hand or the other. So center line on that button is pretty solid. It does come with a crane port, and you could use an external switch. So if you do a lot of switching and you run an external switch, that's an option. Or if you've got other things you're running, certainly an option. For where I've got it set and the length of this, for I guess scale purposes, this is a 12.5 inch rifle, and the handguard I think is an 11.5. So it's not a very big. It's a fairly compact footprint. The body is all aluminum, which seems pretty darn tough. It's got a milled in recoil lug, and then it's no QD. It's a hex bolt. So for the most part, I think most people are going to realize that QDs aren't really all as great as they're cracked up to be in a lot of situations, and just bolting that on there and throwing a witness mark and leaving it on there is how I prefer it. So I'm happy about that. It's stayed put. Don't have a ton of rounds through it. I guess probably 150. So from the match and zeroing and whatnot, nothing has shifted yet. Nothing has. I haven't had any flickering during the match, anything like that. It's pretty much been solid, worked as expected. Over time, as I use it more, and I want to get out and really practice because I performed bad enough. I need to really get more reps. But if something happens, I'll make another video and say, hey, I broke the thing, and take that for what it's worth. But so far, it's been really a solid option. The beam, compared to other lasers and illuminators that I saw out there, I think was very comparable, if not one of the better ones out there. I was RO'd the whole weekend. I can't see, it's hard to see really up close in detail when you've got night vision on. So I can't tell you what all laser illuminators people were using. I know I saw some that were definitely nicer than this. One of my friends went through. I need to ask him what it is, because the beam quality of the IR or the illuminator looked phenomenal. But besides for that one, I didn't really see any that were better than this. I saw a lot that were worse. So take that for what it's worth. It's a CR123 that it takes. It comes out the side here, which I would say is probably handy for a lot of things. If you're running this on a Hydra or something where you had it close to an optic, you'd probably want something on the side like that. Overall, it's a really nice package. The price seems about right. I would say your closest competitor is going to be the Holosun Iris. Those are $800 to $900, so certainly more expensive than this one. They do have a similar convergence kind of slider and similar size package. I've held an Iris. I haven't compared them side to side. The Iris may be just a little bit smaller. Weight wise, I don't know. I mean, when you start throwing lasers and IR lights and things on a gun, it tends to get pretty nose heavy. This one actually isn't too bad just because it's aluminum. It's not super heavy. It's definitely not like a D-ball D2, Chungus, great illuminator, but really, really big footprint. This is pretty solid for what it is. If you're in the market, I certainly would give it a look. Depending on how you feel about Chinese-made stuff, there's not a lot of options. There's a lot of options now. There's not a lot of affordable options that aren't Chinese. So if you want to get some of the American-made stuff, you're going to pay easily 4 or 5 times as much. So, which if you can do that, that's awesome. There's some really good American stuff out there, but kind of for what this is and for what I use it for, that's kind of in the budget of what I can afford and use. So I would say you probably won't be disappointed if you pick one of these up. If you got any questions on it that I didn't answer, feel free to ask. And I hope to see you out in a match.